Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Next Level Real Talk Podcast, where we have conversations on the journey of personal transformation and the pursuit of lasting peace and happiness with Sheldon and David. And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Next Level Real Talk with Sheldon and David.
Welcome
Dave.
back. Good to have you all here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you all here. And it feels like there are people out there that are actually listening to us and watching this and enjoying it, getting something out of it, which is again always amazing and cool. So we're thankful for everybody and glad that it might be providing some benefit. The last one we talked with Lucas again, and that was awesome. So thank you, Lucas, for joining us, and loved having him. And it's always good talking with that guy. He's got some great insights, right?
Yep, awesome. Love to hear him talk. And he did give you a little extra credit homework. So that's kind of cool that he kind of popped that in there last week. So making sure you say no.
And
so
yes,
hopefully you got
the
to
extra
practice
credit
that.
was saying no, right?
So
Saying,
hopefully you got to do that. Yep.
yeah, just respectful, loving boundaries, right? Setting those boundaries. And in the episodes prior to that, we had done that golden sun meditation and that idea of and we had talked about differing levels, but taking some time, either if it's just a couple times a week or even a couple of times a day, and interjecting that guided visualization. Technically, it's a guided visualization, but I often refer to it as a meditation. And then we posted that one that was all by itself, and it's 7 minutes. And again, normally you can do that as short as 2 to 3 minutes, right? So hoping that people are doing that, and wanted to talk a little bit about why that helps. And it's this idea of bringing in a greater level of balance into our lives, right? We are so busy doing stuff all the time and activity. And there's this opposite of that energy of doing, and I always like to describe it as being. And I wanted to maybe just show that bad boy. So that's the yin and yang symbol, and we've all seen it, and I was really big into this thing for years. I used to wear the symbol and contemplate it all the time, but really the essence of the yang, which is the white side, is that's like the masculine energy, and it's action and doing and taking charge, making things happen, early bird gets the worm, all that kind of stuff is very yang. And so if you think about those things, those are what we as a Western society value all of the yang doing. We tend not to value the yin, which is considered the feminine, which is being. So there's this doing and being, presence, openness.
Can I interject something real quick,
Absolutely.
Sheldon? So as Sheldon talks about this, go back to what we said a couple episodes ago. We always talk about if you're having a conversation, us as men always want to fix it, want to do it. What do you want me to do? What you want to fix it? So we said now you got to sit there in the conversation. Go. Do you want me to do it? You want me to fix it, or you want me to listen?
Right.
So that's where this is coming from. And you notice the male side of it all is the do, get it done. That's where we really are. If you really want to pay attention, I'm not getting sexist here. It's just that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so when we stop and say, hey, you want me to do this, this, or this, we're accepting the yin and the yin. The yang and the yin. So we're doing both. So we're slowing down. So as Sheldon talks, I was like, oh yeah, that's that. That's that.
That idea of presence, right? Do you just need me to be? And that's what I mean, doing versus being. Do you just need me to be here with you? Beingness, my openness, my receptivity to hear what you say, my receptive, that is practicing the yin aspect, which is considered feminine, right? And just in terms of just how the opposites, right? The masculine, feminine kind of thing. But I like to talk about it and say yin because it's less triggering for people, right? I don't need to be feminine or whatever. Well, there's a yin aspect, a softness, a receptivity, a passivity, a beingness, a presence, right? And so, David, that's exactly what. When we were talking about that, do you want me to fix this? That's a very yang male kind of thing to do, right? We, especially if our partner or somebody we care about's upset, we want to fix it right away.
I want
That's
to fix it
taking
for you.
action.
I'll take care of this.
We
Yeah.
want to grab it by the hands and fix it, right? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Grab it
Mhm.
by the shoulder, shake it around and fix it and make something happen, right? Because we're not comfortable with our emotions, with our feelings, and with just being there and not having to
And
do
listening. Yeah.
anything.
Mhm.
And I think the
Which
interesting go ahead.
Go ahead. No, which is weird because that's just who we are.
Mhm.
And but we as the symbol says, in every yang there's some yin, and every yin there's yin, there's some yang. So we do have that ability, but we're
Mhm.
just more powerful this way. That's just how we are.
Yep.
So yeah, go ahead.
And that symbol is in perfect balance, right? When you look at the symbol, and maybe I'll put it back
Hmm.
up here. When you look at the
Yeah.
symbol, it's in perfect balance, right? The black and the white halves are exactly equal. And then, like you were saying, even in the yin, there's a little bit of yang, and even in the yang, there's a little bit of yin, which is that small circle in there, right? But everything's in
Hmm.
perfect harmony and balance. And that's not how most of us are. Because
No.
and the idea is that you are that even within you. In other words, even as a man, you have a balance of feminine qualities. You can balance your action with your presence, right? And in a woman, the same thing. She can balance her presence with action, right? And that all of
Hmm.
these things are in
Yeah.
harmony together. Um, and if you really think about our society, the Western society, especially, and I think all first world nations, but we don't value the feminine aspect, the yin aspect, those qualities of presence, of receptivity, of quietness, of compassion, of empathy, of all of that stuff. We value taking charge and making shit happen, right? And that
Hmm.
is and so when you look at your own life and you look at society, you can see how out of balance we are, right? And so a lot of the Eastern countries, Eastern people who are kind of look at things with that more yin yang thing, they'll look at the whole of the world and see how out of balance it is. Um, and that's one of the reasons I think why the golden sun meditation visualization is so powerful is you're interjecting this place of quietness, of presence, of
Hmm.
beingness into a day that's normally filled 99.99% with activity and action. So the beauty of it is you don't have to do 8 hours of beingness to offset 8 hours of action.
Yeah.
You can
Hmm.
10, 15 minutes, right? And that's what you were doing
Yeah.
when you were doing it, right? And that's what you do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it took that. I mean, I was taking 1 to 2 minutes
Right,
at a certain point, but
right.
then later on in the day, could sit down and take longer time. So it wasn't
Yep,
like I needed a whole 50 minutes to come back to 50 minutes. I just took 1 or 2 minutes after that period, boom, and it
yeah.
helped. So,
And one of the other things about that short practice is in Chinese martial arts and in internal martial arts, which has to do with building energy. They have this idea of 80%. I was going to talk about this last time, but I didn't. Training to 80%. And what's really interesting is there's actually a UFC coach who talks about this. Uh, and I've heard this like 30 years ago, and it's starting to grow, which is the idea of training to 80%, which is so weird to our Western mind, which is 110%, no pain, no gain. You got to train to
mhm,
failure, all this stuff, right? He, in the internal martial arts, they say train to 80%, meaning there's 20% margin for safety so you don't get hurt. And then as you continually train to 80%, that bar rises. What is 80% gets higher.
mm,
So you're not ever harming the body. Well, in the meditation, when you do the 2 minute meditation, it's kind of like training your brain to 80%. Your brain is not used to being quiet at
yes,
all.
no,
Like it'll go
mhm,
crazy, right? So, but when you do 1 or 2 minutes, and remember you were saying at first you couldn't even do 1 minute or two, three
no,
minutes. You're
mm,
like, just did the breathe, just take a couple slow to breaths for 30 seconds for a minute, and that was all you could do.
mhm.
And then it got to where you could do more easily, right? And
Yeah,
so
that
to
80%,
me,
as you're saying, 80%, I was here.
yeah,
That 80% got here, then it got here. So it's like,
exactly.
yes, it allowed me to train, and I was like, okay, now I can do this, and I can slowly make it a little bit longer, and it allowed me to start resting. I couldn't rest that long, and so that 1 minute rest or 30-second rest with the breath was like, okay, so now I can do this. Okay, now I can go 2 minutes. Now I
Mhm.
can go. That's just like a workout, you know,
And then you
and
say, "Oh,
then
at the end of the day, I could go longer." I want to
Yeah.
do a 20-minute meditation or something like that. And that just happens naturally as your
Mhm.
brain learns how to quiet itself and relax. And
Yeah.
basically, what you've done is trained your brain to
Yeah.
relax.
Like in track for me,
Hmm.
I can't go out and run a 400 the first day of practice. I need to do a little conditioning, do a couple hundreds, do a couple 200s, do some 300s, and work my way up to 400.
Right.
So that's how you have to do it. Same
Right.
thing like with swimming. Man, you get someone in the water and say, "Okay, I want you to swim a mile." I'm going to swim what? They got to swim back and forth.
Right.
First off, let's
Yeah.
get them across the pool,
Right.
and then see how
Right.
they come back across the pool.
Yeah,
Okay, oh
exactly.
yeah. Now some people are great at swimming distance. Some are like, yeah, I can't go that far. But if you have to slowly work yourself to that, even in a sprint, a 50 yard,
Hmm.
50-yard sprint in swim. That's not just, oh, I'm only going 50 yards. Well, you
Yeah.
don't get in and
If you've
swim
never
as
done it
fast.
before, it's a lot.
Yeah. So you have to work your way up to it. Yeah, that you're swimming 50s, but guess what? You're swimming, whatever time you are. It's like, that's not fast. Well, that's not supposed to be fast, yes.
Yeah.
And when your workout gets faster,
Yeah.
oh, that means my sprint's going to get faster.
Yeah.
And as I continue, and that's the same thing as what's going on with the brain and doing that slight slow down and
Yes.
quote unquote 1 minute meditation.
Yeah, and so that's the power of the thing. Not to harp on it more than I already have, but that's the power of what that thing is it's absolutely life changing. Um,
Yep.
and again, this 3-minute little thing. So people sometimes, oh, what's the big deal? It's nothing. What is that going to do for me? It's so little time. Uh, well, your brain can't handle it. Your brain can't
Hmm.
handle a 1 hour meditation. You know what I mean? If
Nope.
I said sit down and quiet your mind, and there is that whole transcendental meditation where they tell you should do an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon every day. That's 2 hours solid. Number one, most of us don't have that time. We're not
Hmm.
we're not going to dedicate that kind of time, and that's really hard to do for most people. Even I've
Yes.
talked to experienced meditators where they just have a hard time going that long. Um, and
And if you do, you don't do it right away. You got to work your way up to that.
most of us need to work our way up to it. And if you're
Hmm.
trying to go from 0 to that, it's going to be painful. It's kind of like
Hmm.
trying to go to the gym and you do your max weights every day and you tear every muscle in your body. And you don't ever want to go back to the gym because you can't walk for 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like
It's
shredded.
not fun. It's not
It's like,
fun. It's not what. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, what's the point of that? Or like, yeah, taking somebody, who's never sprinted and trying to run them a bunch of 400s, you know what I mean? You kill them and
Yeah.
then they never run again, right? It's like
Hmm.
that with your mind. So starting small, starting slow, and then it does naturally those, I always say, you do the 3-minute meditation 5 times a day, that's only 15 total minutes. Um,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you will build up. And most of the people I've ever coached end up doing 20-minute meditations at night. You
Hmm.
know, they like it.
Yep.
It feels good, and when they get to that place, it's completely natural. I've never said it. They just start doing it. It's just like, oh, I did a
Hmm.
longer one at night. Oh, that's cool. you
Yeah.
know, um, but that's balancing this idea of balance that we were talking about, the yin and the yang. It's increasing the amount of yin, and you had talked about that story when you were sharing your first story, Dave, about um, driving your truck and feeling like there's, what can I do? And then that inspired thought came up, right? Um,
Hmm.
and you were praying at the time, I think, right? There was a
Yeah,
prayer.
like, it was kind of yeah, indirect prayer, just driving, going like, "Oh, I was stressing. What do I do?" Mine was rushing. I'm like, Lord, what do I do? What do I teach? I don't know what to do. Just kind of just a conversation I was having with God. Just like, I just don't know what to do. I was just like, we'll do this. It's like, it
Yeah.
was just because I was relaxed. Yes, I was driving, eyes were open, paying attention. Don't worry, people. So it was just I was more open.
Yes.
Radio's off, and it
Yep.
wasn't like radio's on. So yes, I had to pay attention, so my mind was functioning that
Hmm.
way, but it was open to anything else, and it was amazing just how that just came in. It's like exercise 365,
Yep.
or 356, whatever it was. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's a pretty good exercise. Yeah. So that doing that small little before that, doing all the times and just resting and letting my brain relax, and the thoughts just kind of go away and let anything come in. That was the moment that was like, that's what I've been working for,
Yeah.
per se. Not that, oh, this
Yeah.
is what I was looking for. I needed to find
Right.
that
You
one
didn't
moment, that
know it
one
at the
time.
time, but then it just
Exactly.
happens, right?
Yeah, exactly.
and that to me is inspired thought or revelation, if you wanna call it that, right? It's just like you didn't figure it out. God
Yeah.
helped you figure it out. God planted
Mhm.
that seed. It popped into your mind. Woo! And
Yeah.
you don't even have to believe in that, it'll happen. That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly,
beauty of it, right?
and if you don't, I mean, like me, to you, as you know, that's God inspired to me, and if you don't have that, just understand that letting your brain relax and stop rushing through everything, it allows the other parts to open up.
Yep.
Like we're going like
100%.
because I was thinking everything's popping. So I go slow down. And but in my mind, I've taught exercise 356 how many times, in my accounting teaching career. It's like, oh, I couldn't think of that because everything else was rushing in front of it.
Right.
And it was right there behind it, but I
Yep.
had to let this other stuff go
Fall
and let
away.
that come forward. And
Right.
that to me is God was like, calm down.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of this stuff. Breathe. And then here's what you need to do.
Mhm.
Oh, because I
And
wasn't allowing myself to see it.
I've always said that, like, prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening,
Mhm.
right? So prayer is talking, and
Amen.
sometimes we're constantly talking and we don't listen.
Yep.
You know what I mean? "Hey, hey, hey,
Totally.
hey, 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 help," right? It's like, "Hey, take that moment." But not that prayer can't be very meditative and quieting. It can.
Exactly.
And it's
Yep.
exactly what I think was happening for you, right? Was that as you were doing that, you were quieting, you were kind of in
Mhm.
a more receptive state, right? So when you look at it from that yin yang symbol, you were in the receptivity place, and
Yeah.
then you received this, inspired divine.
Yeah. I was in the yang trying to figure it out,
Right.
freaking out what I was doing, and said, "Whoa, slow down,"
Yep.
and got to receive what I was supposed to be listening
Right.
to.
Right.
So,
And that's even
yeah,
in your brain,
that's
right? We
good.
have
I
2
like that. That's
hemispheres.
great.
One
Yeah.
one is yang and one is yin, and
Mhm.
and so you're literally physically wired that way in this very yin yang kind of thing. So just wanted to, I guess, remind people that
Mhm.
uh, there is a lot of power in balancing our lives out a little bit, that it doesn't have to be um, you know, 50-50. 4 hours
Yeah.
of activity and 4 hours of beingness and presence, and sleep, by the way, is not beingness. Uh, and even if you think about your dreams, they can be very active in the middle of even while you're sleeping,
Mhm.
right? And so many of us can't even go to sleep, right? Because we can't turn off that yang active aspect of the mind. Like we literally
Mhm.
can't. And I got some feedback from some people that tried the meditation that said they slept for the first time in a long time. They were able to actually
Awesome.
sleep all the way through, which is a beautiful
Awesome.
thing, right? But the reason that it's working is it's connecting into this yin aspect, this
Yeah.
receptivity, this
And
quiet presence.
yeah, what I do sometimes when I'm going to sleep and my mind's rushing, like I'm like, I need to go to sleep. I do a little and just now realizing I'm doing some meditation. That's more visualization, but I'm going like clear the mind. I just tell I'm not clearing my mind totally because I'm telling myself to clear my mind. So really, I'm
Mhm,
not clearing it. But it's like clear the mind. So I'm letting trying to get all the other stuff out in my mind is clear the mind, but everything else is slowed down. And
mhm,
so as I say clear the mind, that thought is still there, but everything else is gone. So now my mind has started to relax, and I
mhm.
can go to sleep. So
It's that idea of, to me, it's like the Buddhists have that idea of the clouds. I don't think we talked about that one, right? The clouds passing through the sky. Did we talk about that?
we might have a no because that's in the book.
I feel like we didn't,
Yeah,
but
no.
and if we did, forgive us.
Hmm.
We're getting old. We repeat ourselves.
Been there.
But in Buddhism, they have this idea that the thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. And I
Hmm.
always like to describe them. Some of them are white, puffy, happy, pretty little clouds, and some of them are dark, ugly storm clouds, right? But they're all of your thoughts, regardless of the nature of that thought, is like a cloud passing through the sky. But you're
Hmm.
not the clouds. You are not your thoughts. You're the sky through which the
Yep.
clouds pass. So you're this
Hmm.
consciousness, this awareness. And there are some spiritual uh, practices that literally say that's what God is awareness, consciousness, that you are connecting with the divine aspect of yourself when you can witness. So even just saying, quiet the thoughts. is kind of like shifting a little bit of how you're looking at thoughts themselves. And that's another thing that I wasn't planning on talking about, but is really, really, really fundamental to what's happening is as
Mhm.
you do the golden sun and you learn how to witness and you start to, and the golden sun has got all these visualizations in it. You're imagining and seeing things and feeling these things. So it is shifting you and your mind is still kind of active. That's why it's a lot easier to do than a pure meditation where you're literally
Mhm.
just sitting there witnessing the thoughts, right? And David, you got to that place where you could do that, right?
Yeah,
But we started
reading that, Singer's book really
Michael
helped me.
Singer's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, it was so good because it allowed me to read it and then visualize, and then there were thoughts coming into me that I didn't wanna be thinking, like, "No,
Mhm.
let it go. Let it
Yep.
go, that's not real. Let it
Yep.
go." And I could literally visualize it going by and go,
Right.
"Okay, it's gone. It's
I
gone."
feel like that, this
Yeah.
too shall pass kind of idea, right? Is hey,
Mhm.
that thought
Yeah.
will pass. This one's going to pass. They'll all pass. Um, and I have a friend who actually went to Michael Singer's space. He's got like a temple or whatever he calls. I don't know what he calls it in
Mhm.
Florida, and she's been to retreats there where he talks every day, and she got to
Oh,
hang out with
wow.
him and go for a private walk and has a
Mhm.
selfie of her and Michael Singer.
Holy moly, that'd
Hey,
be
Paula,
awesome.
if you happen to
That's
be
cool.
listening, shout out to Paula. We love you. You're awesome. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, so anyway, so this idea of being a witness is that happens. And again, it doesn't necessarily, the golden sun kind of makes that ground fertile to be able to do those kinds of things. But again,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful, potent starting spot that these things naturally evolve from it. And one of the things that evolves is this ability to witness, this ability to allow everything to pass through, shifting your relationship to thought itself. And that is something that again, I wasn't planning on talking about, but it's literally one of the most powerful transformative experiences you can have is shifting your relationship to all the thoughts that you have, that you are not your thoughts. They are just these clouds passing through the sky of your awareness, your consciousness,
Mhm.
and you are not your thoughts. So I always say that I think, therefore I am thing. I don't like that. It's like this weird Western kind of thing that's to me fundamentally incorrect. Um, but your thoughts are there. They are what
Yeah,
they are,
totally.
and they just,
Mhm.
and some of them are silly, it's like no big deal. Let it pass. And
Mhm.
some of them you can say, okay, but from that place of witnessing, I'm going to pay attention to this one. I need to do something
Yes,
with that, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
And some of mine at that point, some of mine weren't real thoughts. They were just my brain going because of what I was going through. I was like,
mhm,
no, let that go. Don't harp on that. Let it go. Let it
yep.
go. And one thing, by the way, if you the Michael Singer book is there's a link on one of our previous
I'll
episodes
I'll
at the
post
beginning.
another link to it here
So
in this one
okay,
because we're bringing it
cool.
up, and
Because
it's
it's a good book.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, so it's just being aware of of what's going through, and it's okay to grab a thought and say, okay, I'm gonna roll with this one because that's something I really want to pay attention
mhm.
to.
and
Just
that's
make sure it's what you okay to be in your brain.
and that's true power, the power to
Hmm.
pick. The
Yes.
power of awareness, right? You're
Hmm.
in the place of your heart or whatever you want to call it. Michael Singer describes it as behind and above, right? Like you're outside of your body witnessing the things that are happening. And then you're
Hmm.
choosing what you're going to actually align with. So you can choose to align with an action or not, right? And that's
Yeah.
power because normally we're just reacting unconsciously. Thought pops in and you're running with it because you think you're
Nope.
your thoughts.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
one of the things that happened, one of the stories, and I don't think I shared this one when I was in my drug addict and I was recovered. So, uh, and I was taking care of my mom in the mission, and Jacqueline and I were together. I don't know if we were married yet. And we were in the mission, and I used to. There's a lot of, if you want to call them triggers, right? Because I'd done all kinds of drugs, and I used to buy in San Francisco all the time. And so she asked me one time, just very innocently, hey, do you ever have thoughts about drugs when you're here? I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Every second, there are 1,000 triggers here. And I'm like, I bought crack right across the street over there.
Right there.
That's where I used to buy my pipes right there. Like there were 15 billion triggers in every block of that city. Right. And I'm like, there's triggers all over the city. Um,
Wow.
and she was just like freaking out. Well, how do you, and I said, if the thought comes up, it passes. I let it pass.
Hmm.
I don't pay attention to it. Oh, you used to buy over there. I think that that's what happens with addicts. And I know it's,
Mm.
you know, it's hard, right? And I'm not saying this, but that sometimes you go, "Oh my god, I had a thought of having a drink. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, am I gonna fall? Am I gonna crash? Oh my god," you know what I mean? I can't get rid of that thought.
Just let it
And
go.
they're latching
Mhm,
on to the thought of having a drink or
mhm.
doing something, like, and versus just letting it pass. It's okay.
Yeah, because
Just
you're gonna have that thought. If you think you're not, then you're fighting yourself already
right. And now
because
you're in a
you
battle.
have done it so much, you're an addict. Understandable. Don't
Yep.
get mad at saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so mad at myself because I thought I was gonna have a drink."
Yep.
No, that's you're conditioned to think that now.
Yep.
So you can say that, "I wanna have a drink." "No, I don't need to have one. I don't
Yep.
wanna have one."
I
And so
choose
that's
not
where
to
you
at this point, right? You're
mhm,
witnessing. You're in that place of witnessing, which is your divinity, right? Which is your power. And then you
mhm,
can choose which ones you're going to pay attention to. So
and you
yeah, I
have
was
the
just
power.
like, yeah, they
Yeah,
pop in there all the friggin' time. I just don't pay
yeah,
attention to them. And then what
mhm.
happens is they go away. Why? Because you're not energizing them. The people that
Yes.
are into the law of attraction and this idea
Mhm.
of energizing things, um, what you pay attention to is what you create in the
Yeah.
world. That's
It's
what they'd say.
and how do I say it? It's kinda like on the internet, okay? If I or if whatever, if I look at there's a this freaked me out one time. Looked I was looking at luggage, okay? I was sitting there on my phone looking for luggage, buy new luggage. Next time I'm online, luggage commercials coming up. I'm like, "What in the heck is going on here?" It's
Yes.
like, oh, because it knows that I needed to look for
Yes.
it. So the algorithm said, "Hey, let's get him this information."
Yep.
Same thing that's going on in the brain is going like,
Yes.
if
That's
I'm paying
beautiful, dude.
attention
That's
to
perfect.
have a drink, 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 have a drink. Well, yeah, my mind's going to say, "Well, heck, he wants to think about it more. Let's keep giving it to him." So
Yes.
I just realized that's the exact same thing that's going on in our internet is going
Mhm.
on in the brain.
That's awesome, dude. That's
And if we
super
just let
cool
it
and so
go,
true. Yep.
yeah, we just let it go. The brain's like, well, he doesn't think about that anymore. So I'm just not going to
Yep.
think about it anymore
Yep.
per
It's just
se
like
as much.
exactly. That's so
Yeah.
true, dude. It's like the algorithm in YouTube, right? If you click on a video, all of a sudden you get a
Hmm.
million of them, and then you stop clicking them, and then they start to go away,
Yeah. And
you know?
I see luggage commercials now and then. I don't feel like, oh, what are they doing? Oh my God. No, it's like, oh, there's a luggage commercial
Yep.
because it's not in my, it's a general commercial, not a
Yeah.
my commercial.
Specified, yeah.
Yeah.
And they might
So,
every once in a while throw one out there just to hit you and see if you're gonna click
yeah.
on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like,
And that's what the universe does too. Every once in a while, it'll pop a little trigger in there and see if you're still biting.
mm-hmm,
And so I always say, like, when the clouds are passing through the sky and you're looking at it, paying attention to it, thinking of it, it's like you're shooting bolts of energy at it,
mm-hmm.
right? Your awareness, your, energy flows where your attention goes, right? And so
Yep.
what you're focusing on, so if you keep focusing on that thought, even if the focus is I don't want to have that thought, I don't want to have that thought. Oh my god, I keep having that thought. Right now, you're
Mm-hmm,
energizing that thought because the universe doesn't understand negative. When you say I don't want to have it, it just knows that you're focusing
mm-hmm.
on it.
Yeah.
Right, so it's throwing all this energy at that cloud, and it says you really like that cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to send you
Like,
more of those clouds.
using your analogy about drinking, if someone's sitting there, they haven't been having, oh, they're always going to have those thoughts. Sorry, but they're that thought comes, you go nope, and let it go.
Yep,
That's all. That's all it has to be. Nope,
yep, yep,
not argue with it.
yep.
Just nope, 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 not going there. Then it's you acknowledged it, not saying that I want to be a part. It's like, oh, I acknowledge it, but it's going to go on. I'm not going to
Yes,
sit there and dwell on it, and then
right,
it's gone. So you do give it some energy, but it's how you react to that part of the energy
100%.
is it makes it, is this something we gotta stick with? Or is this something like, "Okay, nope, I'm out."
Yeah,
So
when you look at it, that's like awareness or witnessing, right? But when you
mhm,
react to it, that's the energizing of it, right? So if you just
exactly.
witness it, you can say, "Oh, there's that thought going, boom," and that's kind of what I would do. And that what Jacqueline was just like tripping on was just like
Mhm,
they pop in there, and they don't really pop in anymore at all. Like they don't just
mhm.
don't. Um, but uh, they used to, they used to all the time. And again, it was just like, oh wow, well, I did do a lot of shit right down there on that street, so
Yeah,
makes
that's what
sense.
mhm, and you were still in that
Yeah,
area. It wasn't
yeah.
like you
It's
were
totally in the
in
area,
another
man.
state thinking about that. You're in the
Yeah.
war zone where you were, so exactly.
So, this ties back into the yin yang. I'm gonna pull that thing
Yeah,
back up
pull it right
real
back up.
quick.
Mhm,
Um, so this symbol, and I've been wanting to, it's kind of funny. I actually thought about having someone do this symbol, the yin yang, overlaid over our brain.
Mm.
Okay. Because again,
Uh-huh.
right and left hemisphere, if you can imagine that yin yang, and your right
Mhm.
hemisphere is yang and your left hemisphere is yin. Actually, I think it's the opposite way around. Right. So here it is, the yin yang symbol. Right.
Mhm.
And then one hemisphere is masculine, one hemisphere feminine. And I don't remember which is which. Right.
Yeah.
And if you're in the white and you want to be in, you're afraid of the black or whatever, which is a lot of people in the spiritual world. They're like, oh, I don't want to, they're afraid of their negative thoughts. So they're afraid
Mm.
of
Mhm.
bad things happening or whatever. So they're wanting to stay in the light. I want to stay in the white. Now they're in battle with the dark, right?
Mhm.
And there's this idea of battling your mind. Course in Miracles talks about, people would get in the course which talks about this idea of your ego and your mind, and it is the way it is, right? And you have to develop the witness consciousness. But what some people do is they want to kill my ego. My ego's bad, and it's just like, good
Mm.
luck with that. It's
Mhm.
not going to work. And so then they're in this battle. And to me, it's like you're in the yin yang and you're in the white running away from the black. And then you see when you're in maximum white, there's a little black circle there, right? So you're spinning around in circles,
Yes.
trying to do something that's impossible. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
what is possible is the witness. Where does the witness come? It's in the heart, right? So when you're in the
Mm.
head, when you're in your head space, you're battling the yin and the yang. You're battling all of that
Mm.
stuff. You're dealing with it, right? But if you just go down into the heart, that's where you're witnessing the whole thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and you can witness both the good and the bad, the dark and the light, the masculine, feminine, the action, the beingness. You can witness all of those things that are occurring and then
Yeah.
choose which way you need to align, right? Because
Mhm.
in any given moment, you might say, "This is where I'm going to go. This is what I need. It needs action right now. I need to do something." Or, you know what? Maybe let's just sit with this for a little bit. Let me just take a quiet moment. Let me just
Mhm.
think about that for a second, right? And then you can choose that action, right? But it's coming from this place of centeredness first in the heart, which is to me also part of that seek first the kingdom of heaven within, right? You go to that place. So when you're in your mind and you're battling, you got to get to the place of peace first. That place of peace is in the
Mhm.
heart. The heart can accept all things and allow all things. We talked about that, the aspects of divine love, right? Allowing and accepting. It can accept everything.
Yeah.
It accepts everything. What looks like
Mhm.
good, what looks like wrong, what looks like bad, it doesn't matter. It loves it all, loves all aspects of you, right? And that's why the course talks about dark corners of the mind. You can't hide them. You have to release them all to the Holy Spirit, right? So all
Yeah.
dark corners of the mind, right? But that comes by going down into the heart space, boom, radiating. You're looking up at your yin and yang, and then you're making that decision. So that's what
Yeah.
I always think about. It's like if you're in
Mhm.
one of those battles in your head, you have to drop into your heart first. That's the neutral spot. Then you can go and decide
Mhm.
which way you want to take
Yeah.
action if that's necessary, or you decide that, hey, at this moment sitting and being is what's more important, and that
Mhm.
helps clarify things even more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think it's great. I think it's great for what we're talking about, that we've kind of connected some stuff from the past,
Yep.
and it just reels right into what we're doing. And I even know some good stuff that they can work on this week. So to
Well,
tie into it.
let's
So
tie it in there. Let's
yeah,
do it.
so I will tell you, this is a little bit shorter than what we usually do, but it's kind of nice, just a quick and easy about some good
Yep.
information. And so a little bit of homework, and help me, correct me if I need to do a little bit different. I got two things. One, about the clouds. If something's in your thoughts and you're having too many thoughts, just work on that, and slowly play with that, and try to get your body used to it, your mind used to it, because it doesn't happen overnight. It
Play
took
with
me
the
a while.
idea that this is a cloud passing through the sky of my
Hmm.
awareness.
Yep,
This is
it's just
just
a
a
real,
cloud passing through the sky of
yeah.
my awareness.
Mhm.
That's
And
it.
if it's, yeah, when something's really harsh, you start thinking like, no, this is just a cloud. Let it go. It's
Yeah.
not something I need to dwell on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
This
so
too
pay
shall
attention to
pass.
that. Yep. So pay attention to that cloud and work. I'm telling you, the cloud idea really helps. So because that's what they're doing. They're floating
Mhm.
by.
Yep.
So work
Some
on
of them
that.
don't drift very fast.
No, they do not.
Some of them, it's like there's no wind and they feel like they're
No,
stationary, and some
it's
of
like
them
a
feel like
Linus
there's a bit.
cloud.
Yeah,
It's like a Linus cloud just
yeah.
sticks there,
Some
and it wants to rain on you all
right.
day
Sometimes
long.
it feels like
So
that. So,
so those just kind of take a
yeah.
breath, go, okay. And if that happens, okay, so one, if you can, picture the clouds and let it go. Let it go on by. If there's a cloud that's stuck and there's no wind and it's rainy, just go, okay, breathe, accept it. Don't fight it as much. Just accept it and let it sit there, and eventually it will move on. So just kind of slowly work your way through that. It takes time, so take that time. Um, and the other part that I want you to think about and work on is think about that yin and the yang. Like where am I? Like I'm on both sides, which is great because I can do that. I can receive some stuff, but then again, I'm
Mhm.
a doer also where I want to do it, and I'm learning to this day of how to be more receptive than to be more of a doer and kind of work through things. So kind of like see where you are on that and don't become like, oh, I have to be this or I have to be this day because I was this yesterday. I'm this yesterday. No, just like, hey, pay attention to where I am. Like, what am I doing? And you guys out there, or ladies, I shouldn't say it, just the guys, in a conversation, what do you need me? Am I yang or am I yin? Okay. Am I going to receive it and listen, or am I going to help you fix it? There we go.
Yeah, I love that, and I like to use the yin and the yang, or the doing and being. Do we
Hmm.
need activity and doingness, or do we need presence and beingness?
Hmm.
Because it's not as triggering as the masculine feminine, right? And I even
Hmm.
think that there are so many women that, again, because it's the West, and it's the way the world is right now, and we've, like we were saying at the beginning, that we value action, taking charge, making things happen, that
Hmm.
women
Yeah.
have oftentimes neglected their own feminine nature, which is about nurturing, presence, beingness, compassion, and all that openness, receptivity,
Hmm.
right? They deny that aspect of themselves to be successful in a male world, a world that was created by men, right? For men. And so
Hmm.
um, it can be just as foreign for women, that
Hmm.
receptivity part of them. It's been just as denied as it is in most of us guys. For guys, it's like kind of the little bit more natural because that is the sort of the yang aspect, right? And so we've often shut down our yin, or the
Yeah.
yin aspects, like you were saying. To me, the same thing, dude. It's the thing that you know, that we're working on is, how do you feel your feelings? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
How do you
Yeah.
express
Just.
them too? How do you just sit
Hmm.
with whatever's coming up inside you, rather than, wanting to put your fists through a wall because you're so pissed off or whatever, right? Because that's even
Hmm.
an action when you really think about it from that perspective. I got to do something and I
Yeah.
don't know what to do, so I'm just going to hit something, you know?
And and just so you know, if you're sitting there and you're thinking and you're paying attention to your thoughts and clouds going by, that's actually you're putting yourself into the yin because you're
Yes.
relaxing and just kind of like going, letting it flow through.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
you're already practicing, where you are at that
Yes.
point.
Yes.
So that's your homework.
So
So.
that is some pretty cool homework. If you learn to play, and again, I love it, Dave. You said play with it. You know,
Hmm.
it's an aspect of, it's loose, it's light, and when you're happy,
Hmm.
it's just playful. And so that is an energy that we all need more of in our lives. Is this playful attitude towards all of this? And the
Yeah.
Course in Miracles says all seriousness is of the ego.
And I'll tell you what, sometimes I've gotten to the point, it's like I'll do the cloud thing and be like, something's coming. I'm like, I'll go like, that was kind of cool. So
Yeah,
I'll kind of, and hoping no one's paying attention when I say that to myself, but because they're like,
hundred
what's,
percent,
who's he
hundred
talking to?
percent.
Well, that cloud just went by. What cloud? We're inside, dude. so,
100%. I
so,
have
so I
totally,
laugh at myself because it's like, cool,
yes.
that cloud just went by.
I
Awesome,
used to
man.
have violent, angry thoughts just pass through, and I'd be like, "Whoa, that was a bad one."
You're like, whoa,
Like,
glad
I'd be
that
in the
went
shop,
by.
and I'm like, "I wanna rip that motherfucker's head off," or something like that, and it would pass through my thing, but I would just witness it, and I'm like, "Whoa, okay, that wasn't very nice, okay."
Breathe, breathe.
But it would just kinda crack me up because they're so, because you're not attached to it anymore, right? That's what you're talking
And
about.
if you give it anger, you're now attached to it.
Yes.
If you're still like,
Yes.
"Wow, that
Yeah.
was a hard thought." Okay,
Yeah.
good. Let it go. It's gone. That
Yeah.
was a hard thought is a
Yeah,
big word.
that was a
Was.
mean one,
That was a mean one.
That was
Okay.
that was I mean,
Glad
I
that
was
one's
being a
gone.
meanie in that thought right there. That's okay, right? Because,
Yep.
you're not attached to it, and that's why I was saying
Mhm.
that whole, right,
Yeah.
witnessing and learning that you are not your thoughts, and so many people, when they have a bad thought, think they're a bad person, and they're just not. That's just a
It's
thing passing through
yeah.
you, and when you
Mhm.
learn that, that is so huge, so huge. So play with it, have fun
And
with
some
it,
of our
don't take it
thoughts are
too
from
seriously.
society. Yeah, some of
Mhm.
our thoughts are from society, so it's not your thought.
Yep,
You gotta understand that. That's just
yep.
so cool.
There's
Hope it's a great
social,
week by doing that, so
huh?
I can't wait to hear stories and, see how it goes for people, so,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
So we'll call that a wrap.
Yeah,
And
and
thank you
hopefully
for
next week
listening.
hopefully next week we're gonna have a guest. We'll see how
Yes.
things go. So we hope you
Um,
tune in next week. 'Cause it'll be awesome.
We have a
Uh,
bunch of guests lined up, and it's just a
yep.
matter of making it all
Mhm.
work for all of us. Um, but we're looking forward to sharing other people's viewpoints and
Yes.
thoughts about
Mhm.
their lives and their journeys and their stories and their tools and tips and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, exactly.
again, like and subscribe. Please give us comments and all that other good stuff. We love your feedback, and share this with your friends if you can. Um,
Yep.
yeah,
And
we
have a
love.
great week. Keep that smile on, and we'll see you next
Yep.
week.
Take care.